This newscast is brought to you by Qbird, Pittsburgh's source for LGBTQ plus community news and information. To learn more about Qbird, visit their website at qbird.com. That's QBURGH.com. From the PEP Radio Newsroom, these are the stories we are covering at this hour. A second federal judge on Thursday extended a block barring the Trump administration from freezing grants and loans, potentially totaling trillions of dollars. U.S. District Court Judge John McConnell in Rhode Island granted the preliminary injunction in the lawsuit filed by nearly 24 Democratic states after a Trump administration plan for a sweeping pause on federal spending stirred up a wave of confusion and anxiety across the United States. In his ruling, McConnell said the executive branch was trying to put itself above Congress, and by doing so, undermines the distinct constitutional roles of each branch of our government. The executive has not pointed to any constitutional or statutory authority that would allow them to impose this type of categorical freeze, McConnell wrote. The court is not limiting the executive's discretion or micromanaging the administration of federal funds. Rather, consistent with the Constitution, statutes, and case law, the court is simply holding that the executive's discretion to impose its own policy preferences on already appropriated funds can be exercised only if it is authorized by the congressionally approved appropriation statutes. The states say a litany of programs are still waiting for federal funds or some clarity on whether the money is going to be delivered. McConnell also said the states had demonstrated standing in this case. In other news, President Donald Trump has said he wants his new education chief, Linda McMahon, to put herself out of a job and close the education department. McMahon was confirmed by the Senate on Monday, and an executive order to shut the department could come as soon as this week. McMahon told employees it was the department's final mission to eliminate bureaucratic bloat and turn over the agency's authority to the states. Eliminating the department altogether would be a cumbersome task, which likely would require an act of Congress. Already, the Trump administration has started overhauling much of the department's work. Trump advisor Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency has cut dozens of contracts it dismissed as woke and wasteful. It gutted the Institute of Education Sciences, which gathers data on the nation's academic progress, and the administration has fired or suspended scores of employees. The agency's main role is financial. Annually, it distributes billions in federal money to colleges and schools and manages the federal student loan portfolio. Closing the department would mean redistributing each of those duties to another agency. The Education Department also plays an important regulatory role in services for students, ranging from those with disabilities to low-income and homeless kids. Indeed, federal education money is central to Trump's plan for colleges and schools. Trump has vowed to cut off federal money for schools and colleges that push, quote, critical race theory, transgender, insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content, and to reward states and schools that end teacher tenure and support universal school choice programs. Federal funding makes up a relatively small portion of public school budgets, roughly 14%. Colleges and universities are more reliant on it, though that comes through research grants along with federal financial aid that helps students pay their tuition. And finally, Dr. Mary Brinkmeyer resigned from her job as a psychologist for the Department of Veterans Affairs after a sweeping executive order issued by President Donald Trump eliminated federal recognition of transgender and nonbinary identities. The mandate that federal agencies purge any practices promoting gender ideology made it no longer possible for Dr. Brinkmeyer to care for trans, non-binary, and other LGBTQ plus veterans, leading her to resign in protest. Dr. Brinkmeyer received her doctorate in clinical psychology from the University of Florida in 2006. She started her career in 2008 at the Naval Medical Center, Portsmouth, and has worked with veterans and military personnel ever since. Among her achievements was establishing the first military support group for transgender military members. In 2016, she was named Navy Psychology Civilian Psychologist of the Year. She served as the NMCP's Associate Training Director from 2015 until her June 2022 appointment to the Hampton VA Medical Center as the LGBTQ plus Veteran Care Coordinator and Behavioral Health Interdisciplinary Program Psychology Program Manager. Because of her clinical work and research into transgender mental health issues, Trump's executive order deeply upset her. The VA put out a statement saying things should stay the same during the review period, but that is not what's happening, Brinkmeyer told The Advocate. Staff were told to start identifying anything in medical records, training materials, or patient resources that could be considered gender ideology. Transgender patients are terrified of losing their medical care, she added. Many rely on the VA and don't have alternative options. Dr. Brinkmeyer said frustrations arose when the Hampton VA administration began ordering the removal of all LGBTQ plus affirming materials from public areas and private workspaces. Clinicians allegedly reported that their offices were inspected to confirm that they complied. That's the news at this hour. If you watch these videos on YouTube, be sure to click the subscribe button. Download the Live 365 app to take PEP Radio with you wherever you go. Now back to more music here on PEP Radio.